Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Michele Weldon on the line, and she is an editor, director, author. She's a journalist, and she's also with Take the Lead. Now, this particular episode is part of our Take the Lead series where we're promoting the Power Up Conference that's coming up on August 25th and 26th, and that's going to be in Washington, D.C. It's pretty easy to find tickets. Everything else is taketheleadwomen.com, so pretty simple to get there. First thing first, Michele, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled. Thanks, Adam.
Oh, yeah. So we got a lot to talk about today. So I definitely want to get your views on media, of course. And I know a lot of your work is centered around media disinformation and really how to discern truth from fabrications, which, I mean, looking at the state of the world today and just social media and how easy it is to put content out and how hard it can be sometimes for the public to discern what's true, what's fact, what's fiction. So lots to talk about there. But before we get into all that, I kind of want to go a little bit further back into your history with Take the Lead in general. And Gloria felt like, how did all that begin? I know you've been there 9 years, I believe. Like, how did all that begin?
Yes, thank you so much. Well, I've been a journalist and author for more than 4 decades, and I was at Northwestern University for 18 years as a journalism professor, undergrad and graduate, and I was looking for another thing to add to my portfolio, and then the editorial director position came open at Take the Lead, which I have been following because I do write about gender and culture and media, and it just seemed a perfect fit to be editorial director there. And I write a weekly business column called the Movement Blog, and then I produce the weekly newsletter. And I learn so much every week.
For that newsletter. It's a great newsletter. I didn't know who was putting it out. It is a great, and that's a shameless plug for the newsletter that they did not ask me to do. That's one of the few newsletters that I don't unsubscribe to.
Oh, well, please subscribe. And it wins awards. And not even that I applied to these awards. It's number 9, I believe, on the top 35 women's leadership newsletters worldwide. So that's quite something.
I believe it. Looking at the content and the story that you're telling, really. And speaking of that, I mean, with your skill set, with your background, there's a lot of organizations you could support, a lot of causes you could lend your talent to. Why Take the Lead? What makes it so special to you?
Well, because, as a woman in media, it has always been a mission to work towards equity and in leadership and in content, because it has not been fair across race and gender and identity since the inception of a broader legacy media. And so it's something that I think about and work towards and wanted to be a part of an organization that selflessly works towards the mission of gender equity across all identities and across all industries for leadership. We had the goal since the inception to have it completed by 2025, but it's not quite there yet, but we're working for it. As soon as it can happen, we want there to be parity because it's really important, and time's up for that.
Talk a little bit about the conference, the upcoming conference, because last year, I'll tell you, it was the first year that I went, and I was completely blown away by the community that surrounds it, all of the individuals that attended, the speakers, the panels. I mean, I was blown away. Like, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, we're really excited. Again, the theme this year is Courage to Lead, because in this, divisive, confusing cultural and economic time, it does take courage to lead with your convictions, and also with all the different complications happening. We need to shift and pivot and to remain relevant, and also to remain in our own power to do this leadership and to not be completely disrupted or erased. So we have all different sessions on leadership and system change, and we have great speakers and panelists, entrepreneurs, corporate, nonprofit. A great friend of mine is going to be there, Christine Brennan, who's USA Today columnist and recently has a brand new best-selling book on Caitlin Clark out. She's a leader in sports journalism, she'll be speaking. There's a lot of networking happening, and also joy and purpose is possible. As you said last year with the concert and with, the even talks over great lunch, it's possible to make connections and to induce change.
So switching focus slightly here, you're a TEDx speaker, author of 7 nonfiction books. You have a recent book of essays, The Time We Have. Maybe where do you want to start? Like, how do you want to tee this up, like your overall body of work?
Well, people always say, "Gosh, you do so many different things." Like I'm doing tap dancing and bodybuilding and body painting and.
Wait, are you for real or are those examples? Hold on, are you for real?
Those are examples. No, I don't do those. And
okay,
dishwater.
Well, I don't want to assume. Go ahead. I was going to say what.
But I also do roller skates, so that is something. But everything is under the umbrella of truth-telling and storytelling. As a journalist and an author, using my words to carefully tell not just my own truth, but the truth of what is around us. And, oh my goodness, you mentioned a little at the beginning about disinformation and, the quandary that consumers of media are in, like what is true and what is not true. And it seems that there is an avalanche of disinformation available now that you can't even discern what is real and what is not. Yeah. And it's like, am I dreaming this? Did that really happen? And how do I figure that out? And I feel like at the beginning of my career, there was definitely misinformation. That is making errors and mistakes, human errors. You say the wrong date, or someone's age isn't correct, or you have the title wrong. You're not intentionally misleading someone. But disinformation is so rampant now, and that is the deliberate intention to spread false information, things that are not true. And that, especially in the era of COVID, that is deadly. You tell people that, vaccines are a hoax and, COVID isn't real. It's just people making that up, trying to get you to vote a certain way. And those people can die, and you say, this isn't really happening. There is no threat there. And it really is at a crisis point where I feel like we all need to be involved in the mission of securing what is true and what is not true. And that begins with our own commitment to personal truth-telling. Not that, everyone has to be sure to have the exact weight on their driver's license, which mine isn't, by the way. But you have to project and share information that is real and make sure that it is.
Obviously, there's many things, but if there's one thing that you hope that your readers come out of this recent release that you put out, what would you hope they took away?
Well, there were so many lessons that could be learned from COVID. Some of them were, life-threatening and life-upending. There was grief, but there was also joy and extreme change in our lives professionally and personally, how we relate to each other, how we connect to each other. But I think what people can come away with is there can be a joyful resilience and a certain nimble approach to change that comes our way that we cannot control, because we could not control that other than washing our hands and making sure that we didn't contribute to spreading it any further. But we couldn't control what was happening to the world. And that's a lesson that we can learn to do it with grace, to adapt, not necessarily always joyfully, but with generosity and concern towards our community members, family members, friends, relationships, all of that. We don't have to see change as this negative aspect that harms us. We can see change as something that improves us.
How does your journalist background kind of fuel this mission to help individuals kind of discern what the truth is, what's fact, what's fiction, and just kind of that thread throughout your work? How does journalism play a role in that?
Well, you're always seeking the truth, and, it's very corny about, we will find the truth and expose it, and we will do all this. we are, journalists are the original crusaders. But there also have always been journalists who tell lies and fabrications and promote them, never to the point that it is today, where there is so little trust in legacy media as well as niche media and social media, and for good reason, because there is also this crisis of discernment. But I have a very corny story. I had my own newspaper when I was 10.
Nice. So you knew pretty early on what you were going into.
Right. Well, it was either that or a ballerina, and I wasn't very good at ballet. So I had my own newspaper called the Juvenile Journal, and I typed
you
it up.
You already had the alliteration down. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
How old were you back then, you said?
10.
Oh,
10.
wow, 10 years old.
And
okay.
I typed it and had a hectograph machine and copied it, and my father mailed it to, I had about 50 subscribers, and it was monthly, and it was 50 cents a year. And it was about 2 pages, maybe 4 pages. There was a lot of family news, and I illustrated it. And I remember saying to my father, I'm doing so well. And he said, actually, you've never paid me a dime for postage, so you're not really doing well. I don't know where all that subscription money's going, but, So I always had an interest in learning what was around me and sharing that truth. And I thought everything was interesting and exciting. And, I worked for the local paper when I was in high school. And, I thought it was so marvelous to be assigned the 4th of July, log frisbee throwing contest. And one of my older brothers said, you're getting the assignment because no one else wants to go. I was like, oh, is that right? Probably true. But, as I grew older and after undergrad and graduate school in journalism and working on the newspaper in college, I got, better assignments and better outlets and thought this is so much fun. You get to learn things, and you get to tell other people what you've learned. Not in a didactic way that is, finger wagging and braggadocious, but in a way that's like, let me show you what I just learned. Right? This person has so much to share. We have so much to learn about it. I just think it's great to learn every day and to be part of that process. I enjoy that, and I enjoy also learning about other people's work and making sure that what I share is truthful and can be backed up and verified, and that I don't cause harm by, saying or writing or spreading the wrong thing.
Yeah, and I'm curious on your end. So when you're obviously your journalism background, and you taught this, so you understand and you know what you're looking for in that. For the layman, or just for me, obviously I'm in media now, but if I look at myself, I've been doing this 9 years now. But before that, if I look back, I'm fairly educated. I had a ton of licenses and degrees, all that stuff. Right. But I don't know that I could always discern, especially nowadays. Like sometimes I take pause when I'm reading or looking at something. I have that extra moment or two to be like, wait a minute, is this real? How do you, like, for the lay person out there, is there anything that you would recommend as they start even listening to this and starting to kind of develop those skills? Because it's a skill that we're all going to need more so going forward, I feel. In the past, you maybe needed, if you're working in media now, I feel like everybody needs it because it's in front of us constantly, like some of this misinformation. Like, any thoughts on that, on just like how you can start being more aware of what you're actually looking at and whether or not it's true?
Sure. There are discernment tools, like PolitiFact is one of them. And I think it's a great thing to second guess and to not know. I would always tell my students 3 most powerful words are not necessarily I love you, but I don't know. When you say I don't know, you're admitting to wanting to take in the reality and the facts. So if something does seem off to you, then I would do fact checking on it. And there are all different kinds of apps for that. And you can Google that. And PolitiFact is one of them. And a lot of different outlets do fact checking on different media stories. And that's great to know. It's like, what was the source there? Was it a government source? Was it a nonprofit source? What is the database? Is it like World Health Organization or the UN, or is it something reliable and standardized, or is it something out of someone's basement, a website they just created? Yeah. So I think us being as consumers more discerning is also a really great move. And to understand that it's a good thing we say, I don't know. It's a good thing to say, I want to learn that. Or to have the thought that, that seems off. I mean, that means that we're paying attention.
Yeah, it's great. Michele, this has been a lot of fun having you on the show today and learning more about your background and all the great work that you're doing with Take the Lead. That being said, if somebody's listening or watching this and if they want to follow up and follow your work, pick up some of your book, connect, how do they do that?
Oh, thanks so much, Adam. This has been a lot of fun for me. I'm at MicheleWeldon.com. That's Michele, 1L, MicheleWeldon. And my social media is on there as well. I'm on X, Facebook, LinkedIn. I don't do much on my Instagram, but I am really active on the other ones. And you can Google me. My books are at Barnes & Noble, independent stores. You can find them everywhere. And
Wonderful.
TEDx has my speech on there, my talk.
Perfect. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so you can just click on them and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Michele, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Adam.